Hey guys, good morning. Happy Wednesday. It's Daryl here. It's bright and not so bright and freaking early, 5 a.m. here in Connecticut on the East Coast. I did a video about Uvalde, Texas before this, and I had no idea. Sometimes you just don't realize how you're going to be affected by things. And this morning I have been impacted more than I could have ever guessed by this Uvalde, Texas shooting. But this was the video that I was originally intending to do. I really felt like I needed to talk about that to get it off my chest and off my stomach. If you watch the video, you'll understand. But anyway, this is the video I intended on doing. Steven Tyler, frontman, Aerosmith. I believe he's 76 years old, man. I thought about that. My mom is 78 years old, right? And I picture for a brief second, I picture what my mother would look like on the stage, like Aerosmith is doing what they call a residency tour in Las Vegas, and where they just do show after show every night. They stay in Las Vegas, which probably is better when you're getting up there in age, so you don't have to go on the road. And I tried to picture what my mother, a 5'1", white hair, what she would look like on a stage like Steven Tyler, and it's just, of course, it does not compute. I thought about this too. Back in the 60s and 70s, when a lot of these bands first came out, we could have never imagined that these guys would ever even make it to 50, 60, or 70. Steven Tyler, Joe Perry, Keith Richards, people like that, that they, the thought that they would, they seemed immortal, first of all. And second of all, they seemed all too mortal that, they would never make it to, they seemed forever young, and to think that, when you really think about it, 76 years old, and this guy's on the stage giving everything he's got every night. Unbelievable. So anyway, Steven Tyler, he's been in recovery I'm not sure, you have to forgive me on this, I didn't do the research, but he's been in recovery for longer than me, probably about 20 years. The Done With Mirrors tour was in the 80s. He got clean a little while after that, probably about early 90s. He's been in recovery for a good 25 years, which is amazing and something to be proud of. But just recently, I guess he's had problems with his foot and having to do a show every night. It was becoming an issue, so he had surgery on his foot. And, of course, painkillers comes along with that. I'm going to talk about my situation, too, just in a second. But, I'm proud of him as a recovering addict and as a fan of Aerosmith. I am incredibly proud of him for catching this, being honest with himself. That's the biggest thing. One of the hardest things to do when you're a recovering addict is just be honest with yourself. Stop lying to yourself. And that's what he did. And he admitted himself to recovery. So there'll be links down below so you can read there's not a whole lot to read on the story as far as his foot surgery and what recovery center he's at or all that stuff. But the band put out a statement. Okay. So, you guys have seen probably videos from this. I had a complete hip replacement surgery coming up on 2 years ago, I believe. 2020, June 2020. Okay. And this was a big issue. At that point, I had been in recovery, and my drug of choice is opiates, was painkillers, heroin. So this was, it was something that concerned me greatly with the surgery coming up. And I'm going to tell you guys how I handled it. And so far, 2 years later, I was able to go through the surgery, take the medications I needed, and recover and continue my recovery without lapsing back into addiction. And I'm going to fill you guys in a little bit on how I did that. The most important thing was being honest. Whenever I walk into emergency room, I've been in my share of emergency rooms ever since I was a kid. I'm in the emergency room like probably 6 times a year at least. I always, first thing as a recovering addict, you tell them right off the bat that you are a recovering addict. That's just, you don't wait till the end when they start prescribing something. You just tell them that right up front. There's multiple reasons why you'd want to do this, but just get it out there right in front. And I discussed this with my doctor, my orthopedic surgeon who did the surgery. I'll show you in a second. I'm going to show you my hip too. I want to show you how invasive this was. So I guess there was an issue too with there's a lot of pressure on Steven Tyler doing the shows every night, and especially on his foot, having to move around. Obviously, Steven Tyler. If I've seen Aerosmith at least 10 times. If you ever seen the show, Steven Tyler does not sit down through the show. Backflips and dancing and all sorts of gymnastics are Steven Tyler's trademark. So I guess trying to not let the band down, he realized he was developing a physical dependence on him and put himself in recovery. Okay, so when I talked to my doctor, one of the things I brought up, I've talked to you guys before about going through methadone treatment and how it worked for me. Now, like I said, this is what worked for me. And I discussed that with him. And in the hospital, of course, during the initial surgery, I had to have the heavy duty stuff. Morphine and whatnot, which it worried me. But immediately after the surgery, they, because of what I told them about being in, the whole story about being an addict and being in methadone maintenance, they prescribed methadone for me as a pain reliever, and it worked spectacularly. They did, when I left the hospital, it was a very invasive surgery. I'm going to show you the scar just to show you. I'm going to show you a part of my hip here. So it's this brief partial nudity. So let's see. You guys can see. Yeah, you can see it there. Yeah, that was a pretty big scar. It scared the hell out of me. They cut off the top of the femur, the ball, cut off the whole bone, the biggest bone in my body. They sawed off the top, and then they clean out the hip, the bone there. They pound in a spike into my femur, a replacement metal, and then a ball joint that it fits into. The scariest thing was they were going to cut off a piece of my femur, my leg bone. That freaked me out, man. And my recovery was spectacular because I exercised so much and because I was honest with them, and we worked out a treatment program that worked fantastic for me. They did prescribe me 10 Oxycontin, low level, I think they're called instant release. 10 of them after that surgery, a fairly major invasive surgery. And they just gave me the least amount they thought necessary to handle any pain when I went home. I think I was in the hospital for just 2 or 3 days. And just 10 5 milligram oxycodone, which is probably the lowest strength that oxycodone comes in. 10 of them. I took 8. To this day, I kept oxycodone. I kept 2 of them. Here they are. I don't know if you're familiar with what oxycodone looked like, but those are 2 5 milligram oxycodone. Now, I would advise this to other addicts out there. It reminds me, if you ever seen Cheers with Sam Malone, he's an alcoholic supposedly in this show, it's Cheers. And he doesn't drink, but he was a bartender in his own bar, and he was always around the booze. And sometimes that works for particular people. And this is what that reminds me of. They tell you that you have to surrender to your addiction, and I agree with all that. You have to admit that you are powerless over your addiction, and I agree with that. And like I said, I wouldn't encourage somebody to do this, but this just gives me a level of confidence, knowing that these have been there for the last 2 years, sitting in my closet, and that I've had the willpower. I know, and that's a scary thing to say. I don't recommend anybody, especially somebody just starting on recovery, use the willpower stuff, because it's about surrendering to your addiction, admitting that you do not have control over it. But for me, you got to remember, when I had this surgery, I had already had 13 years clean and sober at this point. So it's a whole different ball of wax, really, from my perspective. And it just gives me, if I could say no to this, sitting right here, right in my house, right in my bathroom, if I could, if I could turn this down, I could turn down anything out there, anybody. And that's one of the biggest relapses. I'm going to talk more about that in a future video, especially in relationships. If somebody feels lonely, wants a girlfriend or just sex or whatever, this is one of the biggest things that people relapse with, because they stay in the hurry in the desire to have a relationship, to have a connection with the opposite sex or the same sex. A lot of times you kind of blind yourself to the true nature of the other person. Personally, I found this when I first got into recovery. I would tell people I'm clean and sober now, and every single person told me, yeah, me too. And I found out pretty quickly that was not true. That's a lie. That's just pretty much what everybody says when you tell them I'm clean and sober. People go, yeah, me too. I'm doing pretty good. That's another sign, but I'll get to that in another video. So anyway, I've had these, and this is just a testament to talking to your physician. If you're ever in the position, if you're in recovery, you got to be honest with yourself, be honest with the people around. I mean, brutally honest. Ask yourself, why am I doing this? What good could come of this? And always be honest with healthcare providers, doctors, right off the bat. The minute the doctor walks in the door, the nurse, the doctor, the physician's assistant walks in the door, you tell them, the first thing you tell them is, I am a recovering addict or alcoholic. It's the best thing to do, really. And that's the reason I'm still clean and sober, is because I discussed it with my doctor. We worked out the best possible, what had worked for me in the past. And thank God it worked for me this time, and I'm still clean and sober. And my best wishes to Steve and Tyler, man. Go in there, take care of business, and come out screaming and kicking. Good luck to Steve and Tyler, and you guys have a great Wednesday.